think we might crack on. Welcome to Guildford, everybody. Thank you for coming down. This is a bit of an experiment for Andertons and Strandberg Guitars. Normally at these kind of events, we'd get an amazing guitar player for you. We have got an amazing guitar player for you, by the way. And the whole event would be about the guitar player playing and taking questions about technique and life as a musician, etc. But I was talking to the Strandberg guys earlier this year. I'm fascinated with what Ola has done with the Strandberg guitar and how it corrects your posture as you sit. And as a guitar player who works at an office desk a lot and finds that playing guitar really exacerbates shoulder pain and neck pain, I'm sort of fascinated what Ola's done with this guitar design to try and correct some of that and make it more comfortable to play. And so I was talking to Marcus and the team at Strandberg and saying, do you think there'd be much interest if we found a local osteopath and did something and tried to frame an event around talking to guitar players about maybe they've had similar problems and they might have, you know, repetitive strain injuries or whatever. And fair play, they were like 1,000,000%, that's exactly what we would like to do, and talk to people about understanding how Strandberg guitars can help with that. And then I said, well, look, I know this lovely local osteopath as well called Gemma, who I've been to see for various back pain things over the years. And I spoke to Gemma and said, would you come and talk about perhaps different things that guitar players can do, stretching exercises, things to just try and alleviate pain and stuff like that. So you don't, the answer to back pain tonight isn't necessarily buy a Strandberg guitar. It could just be, you know, sit differently, stretch differently, whatever. So Gemma has really kindly agreed to come along and talk about that with a couple of her colleagues. Ola as well is here, and he's going to talk about some of the things behind the guitar. And we will have various intermissions where the wonderful Damjan over there, who's flown in from Macedonia, is a wicked guitar player. He'll be playing as well, just to sort of break things up. So we're going to have a bit of playing, bit of Gemma, bit more playing, bit of Ola, and then it's going to be Q&A. So you guys can just ask whatever questions you've got of any of the three of them, really. So thank you again for coming and helping make this kind of slight experimental event a success. I'm really super pleased that so many of you have come. Thank you to we've never done an event in the cricket pavilion as well, but it's a lovely space, and I'm sure this will be the first of many times we use this. If you get bored of whatever, there's a cricket match going on out the back. You can. I can't imagine there could be anything less boring than going to watch or more boring, whichever way. But anyway, so look, Damjan's going to kick us off with some of his own music and a noodle. So give him a round of applause. Thank you very much. Let's go. That's amazing. A beautiful, thank you. A great way to start off. And Damjan will be playing some more throughout the evening, and he'll be here at the end if you want to talk to him about anything as well. So now, Gemma, I think we're going to start off with Gemma and a couple of her colleagues talking about, I guess, causes and cures and things for all the ailments us aging rockers have to contend with. So here we are. I'll hand you over. Thank you very much. And again, Gemma runs a practice literally round the corner from here. So obviously, anyone local to Guildford, I'm sure Gemma happy to talk to you about specific things a bit later on this evening. Over to you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming this evening. What an honour it was to be asked to come along tonight with Ola and Lee. I am a local clinic in, as you can see over there, Guildford, Stoughton and Godalming. But less about that. I'm here tonight to give you hints and tips on how you can help yourself with your aches and pains for musicians, guitarists. It doesn't just have to be guitarists because it works for everybody. I'm sure a lot of you sitting here tonight probably have aches and pains. If you do, put your hand up, please. Yep, I thought as much. Doesn't surprise me at all. I am a musician as well, so I completely understand. And my job is very physical on my hands, as you can imagine. So I do suffer, and I do a lot of preventative stuff, so I know it works. But you have to be compliant. Sometimes previous injuries can cause aches and pains when playing an instrument, and sometimes an instrument can cause aches and pains. So it does work both ways, which is why I was so excited to learn more about the new guitar, because I'm used to the old one that was designed years ago, and having had a go and a play and be able to hold one of these, honestly, the difference, it's incredible, as I'm sure those of you that have one will understand and agree with me. So a little bit more about things you can do to help yourself. Also, if you don't take it all on board and you would like me to email you the exercises to do, I'm more than happy to. If you just copy the email address down, send me an email, I will email them over to you so you can reference back to them after this evening. Excuse me. Am I right in the way? Where should? Sorry, I'll come over here. Okay, so you don't have to be a member of a gym or take part in an Ironman competition to do exercises. Okay, as a musician, you are an athlete. You are constantly using your smaller muscles, ligaments and joints to play a guitar. I think you underestimate the strain and stresses that you put on your joints. It requires endurance, precision, repetition, just like athletes. And do you know how many exercises and training programs and treatments they have? A lot. So you should be doing the same. You need to take care of your bodies if you want to perform like this lovely gentleman here. It was amazing. Thank you. A well-serviced instrument plays beautifully. That includes the one you live in, and I mean it. Okay, so the hand is one of the most common areas as an osteopath that we see with guitarists and musicians. Finger flexion, one of the things you can do, I'm going to go through this quickly because I don't want to bore you. You literally, and I'm sure you all do it, this is the most simple one you can do. Do it a lot. If you've got arthritis in your joints, in your fingers, do this one all the time. You can also use one of those squishy balls. That makes it harder. You can also get a gadget that you put your fingers in, and you can do it the other way, so you're extending your fingers. So it's not always flexion, which I know is what a lot of the movement is with the guitar. You have to go oppose that movement and go the other way. Lots of thumb circles. Lots of extension through the wrist. So you can stretch this way. You can stretch this way. Gentle traction of your fingers. So by pulling your fingers, getting traction through them, that helps as well. As I said, I'm going through these very quickly because I can email them over to you should you want to know more. There are some pictures there of some exercises you can do with a ball or a band. The wrist. Carpal tunnel. Has anyone here ever had carpal tunnel from playing a guitar or an instrument? No. Good. I'm really pleased. It is very common. A lot of people end up going to an orthopedic surgeon to have surgery, which isn't what you always need to do. If you stretch your forearms and your hands and all the tendons down into your fingers daily, It will improve your playing of the guitar. It will allow you to play for longer, and it will stop you getting arthritis in your fingers. There are lots of exercises you can do. I'm actually going to put this down so I can show you. Is it going to work? Seems to have stopped. Hello? Sorry about that. Okay, we've touched on carpal tunnel, so that's fine. Yeah. And again. Okay, the elbow. There's some exercises there as well that helps with any problems that you might have. A lot of people think tennis elbow is from playing tennis. It's not. You can get elbow pain from playing the guitar as well. I've shown you the flexor extensor stretches, which work down to the elbow. So this one and this one. You've also got a stretch you can do which works down to the biceps, so you can bring your arms out to the side, turning your thumbs back, or turning your thumbs under. This is a really good one to do as well. We've done the pronation, supination. Also, take breaks. Always stretch before and after playing, and during if you can. And if you're still suffering, go and see someone and have some manual therapy. Don't keep playing with any injuries or aches and pains, because you're not going to play to your best. And Andrew's going to come up and talk a little bit more.
Thank you. Right. Hello, everybody. My name is Andrew Noble. I am the performance specialist and laryngeal specialist osteopath here at GW Osteopathy, which is about 200 meters that way. We're very easy to find. And what I'd like to talk to you about is a little bit about the postural issues that you can have playing a guitar. So I want to give you all a little question to begin with. How heavy is a human head? On average. About 5 kilos. Quite a heavy weight. Now you can imagine that's the sort of weight you have when you're standing upright and sitting upright, but how many of us tend to play the guitar in a slightly more bent forward position? How many of us spend our time, and a little correction there I see, spend our time looking down over the guitar, looking at our hands and what they're doing? When you move that weight off that central line, the amount of weight that your neck has to then deal with increases dramatically as well. So how much do you think your head effectively weighs? How much do you think your body is having to put up with when your head is in this forward position? At that point, your neck is having to hold up 22 kilos worth of weight. Now you can imagine playing guitar for half an hour in that position, playing guitar for 10 minutes in that position. That's going to put a lot of pressure through your neck, and so we need to make sure we are looking after the neck and keeping everything moving as well. Click. I realized I didn't pick up the remote as well. Now, on top of that, the rest of the body up here is constantly looking for ways to try and save us energy, because our brains are a wonderful thing and our bodies are a dramatically dynamic system that we have working. But part of that dynamic system means that it is always looking for ways to save you energy. Now, when you're playing a guitar, when you're doing any sort of exercise, when your muscles are moving, you expend energy. And so if you're doing a movement repetitively, so if I'm constantly playing guitar and having one shoulder forward and one shoulder twisted, our body's not going to give us the same sort of flexibility we have in the rest of the body to just put that back again at the end. It's much easier to keep those muscles at the front of the shoulder short. And so you end up with one shoulder coming forward, which stretches out through the back. It causes more compression at the front of the shoulder. It causes problems with the pectoral muscles, and it stops things from being able to move properly. And so in order to look at our shoulder, we have a number of simple stretches. The simplest one, and if you could all do this once a day for 30 seconds, you will see a dramatic improvement in your body, and that is just to roll the shoulders in as big a circle backwards as you can. You'll give it a try. And nobody said ow. That's always a good thing. We also want to then be strengthening the muscles that hold our shoulders back. And so that means elbows in at the sides and squeezing the shoulder blades together and holding them there, because these aren't movements that we normally do. And the movements we don't normally do are the ones that we tend to not be very good at. So making sure you are doing the movements that are the opposite to the movements that you regularly do will ensure your body keeps its mobility and keeps out of pain. Click. There we go. RSI is nerve compression. So this is more of what I was talking about, these repetitive injuries that over time twist and twist and tighten and tighten and tighten the body until eventually it can't make the sort of adaptations it needs to, and that's when we start getting into pain and getting into discomfort. So if you're playing a guitar for a long period of time and that shoulder is coming forward and your wrist is going through those same repetitive movements without anything to break up that pattern or to take it the other direction or loosen off those tensions, you are just winding a screw constantly until it gets to the point where you don't have that mobility anymore. Thank you. The neck. Of course, as we've said many times, if you'd like to have a look at if you'd like more about these exercises, then you can give us an email and we'll happily go through them. I'll also be around for the rest of the evening, and if you want to hear me talk at extreme length about all the sort of biology that goes on with the body, then I will happily do so. But yes, the basic thing I want to talk to you about the neck is the chin. Because when we are sitting in that forward position for a long period of time, as I've said already, these muscles at the front, they're used to that forward position, and so they shorten and they keep the head off that central line. So what I want you all to try and do and incorporate into your daily life, it's my favorite exercise to give to basically everyone, because nobody does it, including myself. This is called a chin tuck. You're going to look down and then push the head backwards, like a chicken. And the idea of that, you're going to hold that for about 30 seconds or so, and that will help to stretch out the muscles at the back of your neck. It'll give you more flexibility in the head, and it will also have quite a drastic improvement on reducing any headaches that you're getting from neck pain. So that's a very good one for you all to remember. Thank you. Upper and lower back. Everyone gets back pain because we're an upright species, and it is a very tricky thing for the body to have to deal with. That means you are constantly putting weight onto systems that are having to keep you upright and stop you flopping over onto the ground. And so in order to make sure you are improving your body's flexibility, you're improving your chances of not developing pain, you need to keep mobile. And that means moving the upper back, and it means moving the lower back. And so the most basic things we can do for this are ensuring we're using a full range of movement. So twisting the body through its full range of movement, trying to make sure every area is getting mobility, and that stops it from then tightening up. One more, I think that's the last one. Oh, no. Most importantly, as we've already said, warming up and cooling down are very important to do, because when you are expending energy to do those exercises, to perform music in order to give those sort of performances, you are going to be expending energy, you're going to be using your body, and that is going to be preparing it to tighten. And so at the end of doing your performance, at the end of playing your guitar, you want to make sure you are then cooling down and stretching everything out so that things don't tighten up, so that the next time you go to play, you've got a bit more mobility. Breathing, taking breaks, staying hydrated, all these sort of things will help to keep your body moving and to stop things from tightening up and to stop things from becoming more uncomfortable. Yes, please. There we go. If you have any questions, anything you'd like to talk about more in detail, or if you'd like to email us any questions, then we are very willing to answer. Gemma, me, and the rest of my colleagues will be around for most of the evening as well, so if you'd like to hear more, please come and find us. Thank you.
to just play a track before you come on? Thank you very much. Okay, so I think that's super informative. I was doing some of those chin exercises. I can so feel, I don't know what you guys feel, I can so feel the muscle that goes from my neck and down behind my right shoulder blade, just always causing me a problem with back stuff. And so hopefully some of those exercises, maybe the odd appointment with Gemma or one of her colleagues will help with that. Anyway, Damjan's going to play another tune, and then Ola will come on and talk about his guitars. Thank you all. Well, here he is, the man responsible for these amazing-looking guitars. Hopefully, let's try your lapel mic. Let's see if it works.
I'll try from here. Sound all right? Yeah. Well, you can imagine how many hours of practicing that went into creating something like this and playing like this. And I'm just thrilled to be here. And it's all because of this, which came about, and I'm holding a 7-string guitar right now on purpose, because when I started this journey, if you will, this kind of music hardly existed. The players that played like this hardly existed. But there were people who were trying to push the envelope, who played 7-string guitars and that played 8-string guitars, that happened to stumble on what I was doing very early. And to them, it wasn't weird to get up on stage with a guitar that looked weird, because they played in a weird way. So it resonated well with them as a community. And they had different requirements on what the guitar could do than what a conventional player would do. A 7-string guitar, an 8-string guitar becomes even heavier than a 6-string guitar, purely because it has more stuff on it. They were playing music like this with 1 million notes per second and needed a really responsive instrument. And as you start adding lower strings, the tone becomes different, and a longer scale becomes relevant. But as you're playing the higher strings, you obviously want them to be flexible and playable. So Strandberg is what it is today because my ideas happened to come along at the time this kind of musical movement was happening that played 7 and 8-string guitars. But to take just a few steps back, this whole thing started as kind of a midlife crisis / burnout project or recovery project. I had had a career in the IT industry, and I dreamt back to the days of when I built guitars as a hobby as a teenager. Those guitars weren't very remarkable or different. My first guitar that I built was a Telecaster. But I got that romantic shimmer of building those guitars in my early days, and thought that it would be a good distraction to build myself another guitar. And this purely started as that, a guitar for me. The headless concept interested me because I had owned a Hohner Steinberger license copy. I'm sure a lot of you have seen those. So I started searching the web for headless hardware, and there was none to buy at the time. But I stumbled on this community of ergonomic guitar builders, and they were trying to do something different, which appealed to me, because after 15 years of not even touching a guitar, I did visit the local music shop, and nothing had changed. What was hanging on the walls was the same things as had hung there 15 years ago. So that didn't sound, it didn't seem like a lot of fun to just build a guitar. I dreamed up this project instead, which I called the ergonomic guitar system. And that was kind of spawned off this notion, or what these guys were doing that were trying to build ergonomic guitars. But they really didn't appeal to me. They had these outlandish shapes and tailored to a specific musician. So I want to find some kind of balance between the ergonomics and something that would appeal, at least to me, or that would have some references to more traditional guitar design. So that's kind of where I started. It seems silly now, almost, thinking back, that my project became this massive thing, unintentionally almost. But I pretty quickly dreamt up this concept of the ergonomic guitar system, which was level 1 was just the hardware. And this all comes about instrument balance. So if I want to make a lightweight guitar, but I have half a kilo of tuning machines at the end of this neck. If I try to make a lightweight guitar, it will become neck heavy simply because of the tuning machines out here. So I knew I had to start there, making it headless. So I made some retrofit string lock things and a tremolo that you could put on a more conventional guitar and make that more ergonomic. Level 2 of the ergonomic guitar system was a neck that actually twisted. That wasn't my invention. It was invented by a bass builder called Jerome Little, and the company Lace Music. They actually had a guitar in production that had a twisted neck. So it was kind of off-putting that you have to change your playing technique to play such a guitar. You can't bend upwards because the string will choke on the fretboard, so you'd have to adapt your technique. But since the project was about ergonomics, yeah, okay. And then level 3 of the ergonomic guitar system was this body shape, and obviously the hardware and everything. So I started down the route of making the hardware, and I was active on a guitar forum where other people contacted me and said, oh, I'd like to buy that hardware. So that kept me occupied for a few years, just selling me hardware to other builders. This was alongside a full-time day job, of course, but eventually I was able to build a complete guitar. It won the Guitar of the Month in the Project Guitar Forum where I was active. And a player called Chris Letchford reached out to me and said, hi, I'm Chris. I play 7-string guitars. Can you make me one? And that guitar actually didn't look exactly like this, but it had essentially the same specifications as this one, the scalings, etc. And that was really all I needed. He was out on the road. These were, all these musicians were entrepreneurs. They shared band members. They put together touring packages together. And they exposed the instruments to a lot of players. So my wait list grew. And the other things that had come out of this, from the lightweighting and great balance, the other thing that I realized was that to avoid repetitive stress injuries in long practice sessions, you want to be able to hold the instrument in different ways. So this body design, maybe you want to demonstrate it. Sit down. So basically you can rest the guitar on your right leg, like a conventional guitar, but you can also rest it like this on your right leg, just to get a different angle as you play. But you can also rest it on your left leg in these two different positions. So those are ways to also directly address the ergonomics. The third thing that I realized early was, again, I mentioned the tonal aspects of a longer scale length on the bass strings. It's this thing called multiscale, or often referred to as fan frets, which is an actual invention called fan frets, which was done more for tonal purposes and much more extreme than what I'm holding here. So I've reduced the differences between the scale lengths for ergonomic purposes. So it kind of mimics this windshield wiper type motion that you do with your arm. And that reduces some of the stress on muscle joints and tendons in your wrist. And then I mentioned the twisted neck, which turned out to be almost impossible to manufacture. So I stayed with more conventional neck designs for a while, but eventually I came up with this neck shape, which I guess you have to play it to understand what it does. But it's a trapezoidal shape, which is asymmetric, so it's shifted upwards at the far end of the neck and is shifted downwards at the near side of the neck. And what this does is basically the same thing as that twisted neck. It encourages you to play with a straighter wrist as you play out here. And with a more natural wrist position and just easier to reach the upper frets. These flat surfaces work together also for a more restful playing experience, since you press against a flat surface rather than a round. Doesn't really matter which one. Move freely. I'm actually going to ask Damjan to play the next song kind of facing you, so you can try and pay attention to what he's doing with his wrist. So it doesn't limit you in any way, but I do think it gives benefits when playing. So what I was doing initially was save weight, whichever way I could. The most lightweight materials, it's aluminum hardware, which was unheard of. It's supposed to be steel or brass to give good sustain. Common knowledge says it needs to be heavy for good sustain. But I didn't necessarily care. I just wanted to build the most ergonomic guitar, so I just shaved weight wherever I could. So tons of chambering, quite a lightweight body, the aluminum hardware, did some carbon reinforcements in the neck. And what I realized was that these things had a lot of positive side effects. One thing which I realized much later, because people told me, is they can play lying down in bed. Because the headstock doesn't want to dive into the pillow. It also doesn't extend across the aisle in your tour bus. It doesn't hit the window when you're sitting close to the window. I'm sure a lot of you play at a desk now. It's much easier to pick up and put down. And if you're playing like this, you can do it in a gaming chair with armrests. And it's very easy to, which a lot of people do, is to shift between the keyboard and the guitar, and this stays there. It doesn't tip over, etc. So it just supports the modern musician in usable ways. And the other thing that I realized later as a side effect is by using these very lightweight materials and stiff materials, is that the instrument becomes more responsive. So there's more dynamics and more headroom. So if you play softly, it's going to come soft sounds out of it. And if you dig in, it's going to get louder. So I think it helps. It also encourages you to play with a softer touch. And we was just talking to Damjan earlier, and he expressed that often when you play louder, you have a tendency to press the neck harder because you dig in. But I think a more responsive instrument encourages you to practice with a lighter touch. And a very responsive instrument that's loud acoustically will help you do that. So there are a lot of different ways that ergonomics help you as a player. It lets you practice more, and you become a better musician. And the features that I've tried to design into the instrument will reduce the risk of injury. And it encourages you to improve playing habits, both posture and how hard you press strings, etc. So several Strandberg guitars over there to pick up and try for yourselves. You've heard some of it here. I'm going to be around if you want to ask any kinds of questions. Obviously, Lee has a bunch of our guitars across the road when I've gone home. But let's do this experiment. Let's turn the chair around. Try to look, or yeah, stand up. So watch Damjan's thumb and wrist and try and reflect on how you bend or play when you play. It's probably good that that wasn't the only song he's playing. He'd seem very anti-social.
This is my first time playing with kind of the back in the audience, kind of awkward, but...
Well, anyway, that was kind of what I was planning to say. So what do you say, Lee? One more song and then Q&A?
That sounds like an excellent idea. So yeah, let's tear it up a little bit, see what we got here, and then Q&A. And by the way, if you're watching on the live stream and you want to ask a question as well, please type it in the comments, and if we get to it, we'll read them out as well. So thank you very much. And that was great. Ola, thank you so much again for that explanation. Yeah, do you know what? Stay on stage, Damjan, because I apologize if I shouldn't. Is it Damjan? Damjan, silent J. Always catches the English out, I'm afraid, that one. Right, well, look, Gemma and Ola, if you want to come back on now, and I'm going to give this mic to you, Damjan, as well. So if you've got any questions, speak up a bit, and if you get a question on stage, if you could just sort of repeat the question so the live stream can hear it, that would be great. And if we get any questions from the live stream, I'll read them out as well. So is there anybody here with a question about either the guitars or the playing or the sort of osteopathic part of it? Here we go. Good. First man. Here, take over.
Where did the idea for the neck shape come from? Because it looks wrong, but when you play it, it's so right. It just, because I was reticent to buy one for a while because of the neck shape. But now I've got it, I find it impossible to almost play anything else because it just feels so natural.
Yeah, it's a lot of ideas stewing in the back of my head for a long time. And then I was just telling someone earlier today that I can't exactly remember when I had like the eureka moment. But I was, for a brief period of time, I was collaborating with another builder called Rick Toon, who had experimented with the trapezoidal neck, but it was symmetrical. And then he had a few variations on that theme. And I do remember that we had a remote control at home for my TV, which also had this trapezoidal shape. And I was like messing around with that. It was about the size of a guitar neck. And as I told you before, I was attracted to this concept of this twisted neck. And then I realized that those trapezoidal cutaways, they gave room for this joint here when I held the remote in a certain way. So I guess that kind of came to me, and I made a prototype out of styrofoam. And yeah, seemed to work. And it wasn't easy to sell. I mean, back then, I built guitars to order in my garage to people. And once this was out, I think I only ever built one more guitar with the conventional neck. And even Chris Letchford, who set the specs for this and kind of was the first real customer of the brand, when we later made his signature guitar with the option of a C-neck or the trapezoid, I only think we made one of those. And then the rest were with the Endurneck. So people sometimes ask if we wouldn't want to offer a C-neck. And I'm not saying this is right for everyone, or even better. There are very few things in the business of guitars that you can say are objectively better, because a bad guitar can be part of your artistic expression, and it just works. But I'm trying to make things that are objectively easier to use, at least.
If one had a collection of, say, 20 guitars, how would you incorporate one of your guitars into that without, and still being able to swap from that playing style back to conventional without giving up the other 20?
Yeah, so I realized I forgot to repeat the question. Your question was, if you have a collection of 20 guitars, how can you incorporate one of these and not want to sell the others? I don't know. The weird thing with only handling these guitars, which I do, it's very rare that I pick up something else. I'm kind of shocked whenever I pick up another guitar. But I mean, I don't play enough to give a great answer from a playing perspective, but I cycle a lot, and I have different bikes for different things, and I have a heavy bike and I have a light bike, and I enjoy them all. So I think you can, and we have a few that are more clear references visually. The aesthetics of them are more in line with like the traditional looks. So I think it's easy to find something that blends in. Then it's just going to be another tool in your arsenal, I think.
Do you have other guitars?
Oh yes, I do, but I cannot tell. I'm kidding. Yes, I do. Yes, I do have. So probably, many of you ask, what gonna happen when you pick up this kind of guitar, and how you're gonna return to a regular guitar afterwards? To me, I don't have any problem with that. So I think gonna be same to you. At first, to be honest, it looks strange. When I looked from above of the guitar, the frets were like slightly like in this direction. So, but it lasted only for 15 minutes, and everything was fine afterwards, because you know it followed my fingers as I go through the neck. It followed my fingers naturally. I didn't have to bend my hand like this in order to, you know, to my fingers to be straight in this position. So it just goes naturally. So this was an amazing job done by Ola and all the guys from the Strandberg company.
Yeah.
Are you going to bring? I've got questions actually. Are you going to bring back the roasted maple necks on the models, and as to Seven's things, will you change the pickups to the higher end models from Fishman's to any other brands because of EMGs or like Sable Duncan Blackouts?
So the question is, are we bringing back roasted maple, and are we upgrading pickups in future models?
Yeah, like the 7-string models and the 8-string come with Fishman fluents. Are you going to introduce like EMGs at some point, or Sable Duncans?
I won't give the details today, but yes and yes.
Thank you.
You'll know soon enough. We have exciting things planned. Yes, please. In the back.
A couple of bits of Damjan. When you sit down, you take the strap off. Often people say, particularly if you're playing in a classical position, you better put the strap on, like
I use 1046. 1046. I mean, they work for me, but to be honest, maybe when I get older, I might change them to 9s. Just yeah, yeah. If I play more jazz, for sure, without bands. But yeah, if you're a guitar player that use bending in your playing, that probably you should go with lighter strings. But if you don't use that much bending, 10s for me they work really good. I mean, because I also play an acoustic guitar, so in acoustic guitar, of course, you have more fat strings. So I like when the electric guitar, when I switch to electric guitar, when the strings are at least 10s. I'm sorry.
As you're standing up, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
When you sat down, you seem to take the strap off. But quite often, yeah, quite often people say if you want to play ergonomically, sit down and play with the strap still on. But that's not what you found.
Do you still usually wear the strap when you sit down?
Oh
Or do you play
no,
without
no,
the strap?
no. I don't have the need to use the strap. But if you are in this kind of position and you practice like this, you can keep the strap on. Basically, what I try to do, because all the guitar players, we don't practice like this in our rooms, right? So we basically sit in this kind of position. So when I put the strap on, I adjust the position to be at least close to what I am when I'm sitting. Well, it doesn't look that cool, but if I play in front of guitar players, when I need to be really precise, yeah, I'm gonna bring the guitar up. But if I play in front of I don't know, if I play in a rock club where there are girls and everybody wants to party, then I don't care much. I hope that this makes sense, right?
I have an osteopathy question. So I don't know whether Gemma knows that. Right.
Yeah, I do. Hi, you hear me?
No.
Working
Not
now?
yet.
Yeah. Is that better?
Firstly, I don't know if anybody's ever experienced trigger finger.
Yeah.
Trigger finger release.
It is on.
It's on, is it? I couldn't hit.
Hear me?
Sorry.
Use the handheld.
Give Gemma the handheld, which is with that hand.
Hi. No? I don't like me this evening. Hello?
Switch.
Hello. That's better. Yes. Sorry.
First question. I don't know if anybody's experienced trigger finger. I had a trigger finger release a couple of years ago, but it's no fun playing guitar when your finger gets stuck in that position. It takes 10 minutes to then undo it. It's good now, but nevertheless, I still have arthritis in the joint. So you didn't mention trigger finger, so that's my first question. The second is, it's not carpal tunnel, it's STT joint issue. And again, just any thoughts on control of pain within the STT joint? Again, I had tendon release there, but
Okay.
it still works, but
It's still, yeah. Are you looking for exercises to help with it, or?
I'm just trying to avoid surgery, basically. More surgery.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. When it gets to a certain level,
Yeah,
surgery is probably your only option.
yeah,
I can give you some exercises to do, but you have to do them constantly.
yeah.
It's not something you can just choose to do as and when. Otherwise, you're not going to see any changes, which is why we always go on about being compliant with what you're given. They do
And
work.
that was for the ST.
For the STT joint?
STT
or-
joint.
For both, actually. Trigger finger, you've had operated anyway.
Yeah,
It's just making sure that it doesn't go back, because it can.
yeah.
Whether you've had surgery or not, it can still happen again. And with the other joint, we can give you stuff to do, definitely, that should help it, but nothing's ever a guarantee. But I would try and avoid having surgery for as long as possible, because you don't always need it with the exercises we can give you. They're quite specific. And from what I know with orthopedics, having done a lot of study with the local surgeons, is with wrist and hand, it's not always a guarantee, either with surgery anyway.
No, that's my understanding, is you can lose strength in the,
Yes.
in the joint.
You'll
And
probably
just trying to avoid
benefit a lot more by doing the exercises regularly. And I can help you with that. I can send them over to you for sure.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much. Have you considered applying some of these ergonomic principles to the acoustic guitar so that Damjan doesn't have to change?
So have we considered using these techniques for an acoustic guitar? And the answer is yes. I mean, I see these, like the Andertons, for example, would make an even bigger difference on an acoustic guitar. But, believe it or not, the community that builds acoustic guitars, and especially classical guitars, they seem to be even more conservative than you all are. Back in the day when I started up, I did help a builder make an Andertons equipped acoustic guitar, a steel string. I have yet to make a nylon string, but that would be a very interesting experience or experiment. And if you follow Strandberg, you know every year we do an April Fool's joke that we put some effort into and we enjoy very much. And we intentionally kind of kept you guessing a couple of years ago with our acoustic guitar, not being very obvious if it was real or if it was just a mock-up. But we're working on it. Let me just say that. And it's going to be amazing. Yeah.
I guess this is more of a question for Lee. Are you planning to get any more of the limited editions or artist models, well-known ones, particularly Golden JR Sorcerer, in stock?
That's a good, yes, the question was, are we getting some more of the limited edition Sorcerer models in stock? And I would need our guitar purchasing manager here to tell me, are you making any more, Ola?
Honestly, I think they're all gone.
Right.
Worldwide. I can't, I don't know it for an absolute exact fact, but we made 100 pieces. I'm pretty sure they're all gone. That's why they're limited.
There was a couple of questions coming through from the live feed. I think I fixed your mic as well now, Gemma, so you should be okay. One was about, is there a certain left hand, obviously if you're a right-handed guitar player, a left-hand wrist position that is likely to accentuate wrist pain? So is there a certain position that you should avoid rather? And I guess ultimately does the Endura neck kind of encourage you to avoid those types of positions as well?
It's for me.
Yeah.
I thought you were asking about the guitar.
A bit of both, I guess. If it's on a conventional guitar, have you got? Is there a sort of a wrist position on your left hand that you should try to avoid, essentially, for to avoid any injury to your wrist?
Might be more a question for you regarding the actual design of the guitar. No.
Well,
The new design helps because of the angle, changes the wrist.
Yeah, I think, I went into it with two theories. One being that avoiding like acute bends would be a good thing. That was just a theory on my part. The other was that by being able to, if you're in a long practice session, just being able to alter the position in which you play, so you can divide it up into maybe 4 exercise sessions instead of being forced to play in one all day.
Yeah.
That was my other theory, and maybe you can confirm or deny.
No, I can confirm. The more you can move around positions, the better. It's the longevity that causes RSI, the repetition of that same position. So the fact that you can move the wrist at less of an angle on the new guitar is really good, and change the positioning as well, for sure. Definitely.
Maybe I can answer this question. I think the question is what position to avoid. In my case, because I was playing like 12 years in a loud rock band, So when you can't hear yourself, you press too much on a guitar. So when you press too much on a guitar, I have felt pain, especially in the top of the finger area, and somewhere here in this area. So maybe avoiding that high pressure can be useful in avoiding any further injuries or any tendonitis or stuff like that. So yeah, and I think Strandberg guitars can really help in that, because you don't need to apply much pressure. And as you get older, I think what you need to do is to lower the action of the guitar. So don't keep it so high. I mean, it don't need to be ridiculously low, but just to be I don't know, maybe the position that works for you, lower than I don't know in millimeters how much is Strandberg guitar, but I think that setup is perfect. How much is the Strandberg guitar?
Well, we set them up with pretty low action, maybe 1.5 millimeters at the 12th fret-ish.
Yeah, so you can keep the low action as you go. I mean, for me now that's essential, in order to have the longevity. So low action, maybe go from 10s to 9 string. Some people go to 8. I know that in M.Ost use 8s. So I think that's maybe the best answer to this question.
Question over there.
I have a bit of a nerdy question, so hopefully you were describing the neck on the guitar, and you have the carbon stiffness rods that run through. Was that an initial design choice that you made, or was that a subsequent choice you had to make with the trapezoidal shape of the neck? Were there engineering problems with that, and the carbon strips had to be added in? Was it a weight-saving measure? I don't know if you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, so the question is about the carbon reinforcements that we've been using in our necks, and that was actually part of I've used that on the first guitar that I built, but it was kind of a belts and braces approach. I didn't know. I mean, I'd built a few guitars, but I didn't really reflect on what they were doing, what worked or what didn't. It seemed like a cool thing, and in my mind I was also, and this again kind of ridiculous since it was a one guitar project, I was envisioning mass production of these guitars, and like Lee Fender is one of my role models, and I wanted to make a guitar that would scale and be easy to manufacture, so the thickness of all the pieces were the same, so they were 90 millimeter square. And then for a 6 string, I would just laminate with the carbon fiber. For the 7 string, I would use 3 millimeter fillets with carbon fiber on each side. On an 8 string, I would use 6 millimeter fillets with carbon fiber on each side. So it's kind of a design feature, but it was definitely belts and braces kind of thing. Because after that, we built guitars with no reinforcement at all, and even flat sawn wood, and they work just fine. What I will say is that an Andertons is generally thicker than most modern guitar necks. You know, shreddy type necks are usually very thin and not very stable. So this is a chunkier neck that is more stable, and that improves tone. But the shape tricks your brain or hand or whatever into thinking of it, I think, or experiencing it as a thinner neck. So for many years, I would never give people the measurement, because they would email and say, oh, I love Wizard 2 necks. What's the thickness of your neck? And I would say, I'm not going to tell you, because you'll be put off. Just try it instead. So I think that also helps ergonomics. It's easier to keep light pressure, and maybe you can confirm this. Your hand is stronger when you grip something that's thin or thick, rather than if you grip something that's thin.
Yeah, it fits the shape better, and it's got a nice curve that changes as you go up as well, so it does fit the hand well.
Yeah, so a follow-up question to that really. I mean, we're used to B-shape and C-shape necks, and as far as I know, they're not, there's no copyright or patent on them. Yours is so unique. Is there a copyright on it or patent? Is that possible?
Is there copyright or patent on the Andertons? And yes, there is. And a little bit of a backstory. I'll elaborate just briefly. When I designed this guitar initially, I was very influenced by, my career was in the software business. So I used so-called copyleft licensing on this. It was actually licensed under something called Creative Commons. So you could use it freely as long as you publish your improvements under the same license. So my intention was to further the development in the guitar community. Turned out that no one helped. And when I came up with the Andertons, I figured this is actually worth something. And until then, it had been purely hobby. But when I came up with this, I realized that this is so good. I have to start thinking about making it a career. And then I filed for, I submitted the patent to the Swedish Patent Office initially. And it was so smooth that you just click, 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 and pay, and it was done. My original intent was just to apply but not pay, because in Sweden, you have a whole year to pay. So I was just going to use that grace period to say patent pending, because that sounded cool. But yeah, it was just so well done website that I ended up paying for it, and the patent application was formally submitted, and I'm happy it was. So the patent is really the trapezoidal shape asymmetric in one direction and then asymmetric in the other direction. So it's a fairly broad patent. Yeah.
My question for the physio. You showed us lots of hand exercises earlier, but if you imagine it's 5-10 minutes before show time, are there 2 or 3 that you think just before you go on stage, do these ones, these 2 or 3 exercises?
Depends what area you're talking about. Is it for hand? Is it for back? Is it neck?
For hands, sorry.
The hands. Well, obviously through research as well, there are so many. I would say the best ones would be to do the flexion and extension and the moving of the fingers. Depending on if you get pain in the distal joints, then another good one to do is the claw one, because actually a lot of those joints in guitarists, they get very tender and they lock. And people probably find that they click and it's quite painful. So to warm them up is so important, because then when you are playing, they won't be as much of a problem. But yeah, for hand and fingers, definitely. Yeah, warming the joints, definitely.
Yeah, in the back.
This is a follow-up on that. You tend to pick the guitar up many times a day. So, yes, you have an idea, you pick it up, you put it down. You have an idea, you pick it up, you put it down. But if you're actually warming up each time.
It's probably best if you're sitting at a desk and you're someone that's on the guitar all day, as long as you start the day by warming up. You've already warmed up by picking it up, putting it down. Unless you have got a diagnosed problem with joints in your hands, it's up to you, because every time you've had a rest and you go to pick it up, you might find that they're stiff again. But I appreciate you can't always do that. But if you are playing at a gig, or if you're starting your day with doing something, then warm up before you start the day for sure.
Yeah, I think that's sort of like a minimum time when you think if you're only going to play for 2 minutes just because you're trying to think of an idea, you're not going to do it.
That's probably okay, because it's not longevity. You know, you're playing for a couple of minutes, and that is kind of a warm-up. Okay. But if you're going to be playing for long periods, or doing a concert, or teaching, or practicing yourself, then I would definitely warm up beforehand and stretch afterwards. So you want to warm the joints up before you play, but always stretch afterwards, because you're using the tendons and muscles all that time.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, I'm used to playing guitars with conventional headstocks. So restringing and tuning a conventional hedgehog guitar is easy. One with a locking trem can be a bit of a pain. With your design, which looks nearer to a locking trem sort of design, if you see what I mean, how is it to sort of restring and set up?
Yeah, so the question is about how to restring a Strandberg guitar, and it's really very, very simple. So the insides of the tuners move back and forth. So when you restring it, you simply unscrew this all the way, open up the string lock, put in the new string, lock the string lock, and tune it up to pitch. So these are full range tuners, so you don't have to like pre-stretch the strings or anything. So it's really very easy. And we do have tremolo equipped models. Yeah, there's one there. Anyway, we generally just say, put a stack of guitar picks or something behind the bridge as you change. And if you're really nervous, change one string at a time. Then the trem stays in place.
I have to say, it's faster than any guitar you're gonna restring, because when you restring a guitar that you need to apply the tuners, you need to spend more time, and you have that tool. We all have that tool, right? And in this case, you don't need that tool. You just put the string, you lock it there, and you just tune it, and that's it. I think this guitar is the fastest one in terms of restringing it.
You're building 8-string. Are you thinking about building a 12-string?
We think about building a 12-string. The question has been raised. It hasn't been tempting enough yet.
How can I do Hotel California on your guitar? You don't build a 12-string.
Yeah, no Hotel California. Smoke on the water. I don't know. Stairway to heaven.
Probably got one more question, and then after that you'll have to just see these guys, I think, sort of individually at the end. But we have one more question and then a bit more.
Okay, I think it was first.
Have you thought of making a dual gig bag? The great thing about these Strandbergs is the portability of them, and I mean, when we go to a gig, we always take 2 guitars, and carrying 2 bags is, put them in one, your guitars are so portable. That's the
Yeah, have we thought of a dual gig bag? Yes, many times. It just, limited brain capacity. But I think a lot of us in the Strandberg team, we have traveled with 2 guitars by taking one of the, like SKB. There are several sizes that are originally keyboard cases. You can easily fit 2 Strandbergs in there with just, piece of rug or something in between, and you kind of put them, well, one going this way and the other going that way, and they kind of fit in. But yeah, one day I hope we'll get to the dual gig bag. It's a common request, I do have to say.
Alrighty, well look, I'm wrapping this one up because we're past the sort of 9 o'clock threshold, but there's enough time, I think, for Damjan to play us out with a tune. I do want to say again, thanks ever so much, everyone, for turning up, especially Ola as well. He's come over from Sweden, Damjan's come over from Macedonia, and his team as well, all on the basis of we didn't honestly know whether anyone would turn up tonight to hear this. So thank you guys for turning up and joining on the live stream if you have. Thanks ever so much to Gemma as well for giving up her time with her colleagues as well. Please do hang around afterwards if you've got other questions for anybody that you've seen tonight. Feel free to ask. But yeah, the bar I'm sure will be open for a little bit longer. But yes, please, a round of applause as well for Damjan. Amazing playing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So the last tune, I want to play for you something that comes from my area, because I come from Macedonia, and we have these irregular rhythms. We have 5/8, we have 7/8, we have 9/8, we have 11/8, we have 13/8. So this tune gonna be in 11/8. So I really want you to hear this, because it's a challenging to improvise over. It's a challenging tune to play. Yeah, I want just to see how you're gonna react on this.
That's it. I got a repetitive strain injury just watching that. Anyway, bar's open. Everyone's here for a chat for a bit. Otherwise, see you next time. Thank you.